Hey guys, Sam Freeman here. First and foremost, before I start the video, just want to say, please leave a like and subscribe. Share this video around if you liked it. And check out the links below. There's some things down there. And hopefully you find that stuff interesting. But anyway, so what I want to talk about today is, finally, it's pretty much been after... after the movie rumors and the constantly asking Ewan McGregor and everything, and the confirmation that a movie was happening, it seems like we're finally getting actual confirmation. Asterisk. We're pretty much, it's getting down to the point now where it's pretty much impossible to say that something with Obi-Wan isn't happening on any... in any way. Like, it's pretty much confirmed that, like, Obi-Wan, they're going to be doing something with Obi-Wan finally in some capacity. As far as I know, Ewan McGregor hasn't officially, it's not official that he's signed on yet, but he's, like, in talks to come back. But, I mean, after everything that's gone on and his excitement and everything, and every time anyone asks him, he's like, I'm 100% on board. He's got a good relationship with Disney. He just did the Christopher Robin thing. I don't see why this wouldn't happen. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, of course it's going to happen. But really why this is such a big deal to me, which is why I'm reporting on. I'll probably report on more Star Wars stuff as well. But really, it's just that Obi-Wan is my favorite Star Wars character. Just over the years, I've always, for some reason, like, even in the original Star Wars, I don't know what it is, but, like, all the old wizard characters in these fantasy stories have kind of always been my favorites. Gandalf in, Lord of the Rings, and Obi-Wan in the original Star Wars. And then in the prequels, it goes into his whole backstory and, with Qui-Gon and kind of how he views the Jedi and the Force, and how he kind of, he's more so by the book than Qui-Gon was, and all that kind of stuff. Speaking of that and books, you definitely should read this, Master and Apprentice by Claudia Gray. It goes into that relationship a lot, and it's really fantastic. But Star Wars, just going back into it, Star Wars Episode 1 was my first, not my first Star Wars movie, but it was my first new Star Wars movie. So getting into that was, was really cool, and I have a lot of, I have a soft spot for that movie. A lot of great memories with that, and just kind of the merchandising and the time it came out and everything. But I had an Obi-Wan action figure, and his lightsaber was always the coolest. The Episode 1 Obi-Wan lightsaber is my favorite lightsaber hilt design. But, just going through his character and his arc and everything that happens and all the stuff that happens to him, even throughout, the Clone Wars show and Rebels and all that, all the stuff he goes through and the stuff that could have broken him, but he still maintains his faith and his mission, his goal, and he still stays on it no matter how many times, people that are so important to him get taken away. And, all these things that he puts he dedicated his whole life, to this mission and to this religion and to this whole thing, essentially, in that no matter how everything was against him, it never broke him. And, that whole story and the way he even treats his enemies, especially with Maul in Rebels, after all that Maul took from him, it's like, it's so... His character is just, he just became my favorite character. Something about all that was just really, really great. Even more so than, like, everyone goes, oh, Darth Vader's great, and it's like, okay, he's Anakin, he turned evil and stuff like that, okay. But even Qui-Gon, which, he didn't get a lot of, well, in the movies, the thing is he's never, you see a little bit of kind of what his character should be, but a lot of it is kind of implied stuff that you kind of have to kind of trace back and go, okay, he's like this and this and that. Qui-Gon gets a lot more fleshed out in the, the extra the extra movie material, and you get a lot more about what he's about. And Qui-Gon's one of my favorite Star Wars characters as well, because of how he views kind of the Jedi and all that. It's really interesting, their whole dynamic. But what I really want to see out of this show, because a lot of people have said, all right, what's this show going to be about? Well, I guarantee it's going to take place between episodes 3 and 4. More so towards episode 3. Unless they do because it's going to be a Disney Plus series. Unless every episode sort of encapsulates a year of Obi-Wan's life, or at least maybe it skips after every episode and it's not one long thing. I'm not exactly sure how they're going to set this up. But that would actually be kind of interesting, but it might take a lot of stuff, especially in makeup and costuming and all that kind of stuff. It might be a little too ambitious, but, considering it's on Tatooine, the budget's probably going to be a lot lower than, say, even The Mandalorian. It probably, they could probably do something like that, but I don't know if they'll actually go that route. But whatever route they go, I'll be pretty happy with it either way. But what I'm hoping they do, and I'm seeing a lot of people speculate, and it's so much, Obi-Wan's gonna fight rival gangs and help people out on Tatooine. He's gonna hang out at the cantina and all that stuff, and Darth Maul's gonna come in, even though he was in Rebels and he didn't know Obi-Wan was on Tatooine, and then he gets killed at the end of Rebels, but he's still gonna somehow show up in this show because Disney doesn't care about the canon or whatever, which makes no damn sense. But anyway, I've been on 4chan too much debating with morons, but anyway, it's neither here nor there. Basically, this show's most likely going to be great, at least for me. What I really want to see is, especially with how Obi-Wan has been tested so much in his faith and his character and his resiliency and all that, I want to see, right out of Revenge of the Sith, just what just happened, what am I doing, what are we going to do, and I want to see this guy struggling with his, this whole existential crisis with him, struggling with his faith, his beliefs, his goals, if protecting Luke's even worth it, what his whole thing is. And I really want Qui-Gon to show back up, because obviously Qui-Gon's not a physical Force ghost, but he's able to communicate through the Force audibly. This is shown in the Clone Wars with Yoda, and at the end of episode 3 there was supposed to be something that was cut that was never fully fleshed out, but of course Yoda says how to commune with Qui-Gon, all that kind of stuff. So it would be really cool to see, even though Obi-Wan is so down and through all this, and he's been through so much, and he's been a master and all that, to kind of go back and have his old master still tell him and kind of guide him through this whole journey, to kind of remind him why he's doing this in the first place. I just think that'd be so cool, because Qui-Gon was one of those guys that wasn't by the book. This is the rules of how he played. He was very much like, this is the Force, this is what the Jedi are supposed to be, but he wasn't caught up in the very rigid, legalistic way of the Jedi, the old Jedi Order, or I guess old Jedi Order is part of the Republic, the prequel era Jedi Order, like Obi-Wan was. And which is why Anakin eventually turned, because it was too constricting for him. Qui-Gon would have been a better teacher if Qui-Gon taught Anakin. Anakin most likely would have never turned to the dark side, which is another thing that is cool about Qui-Gon, is if his importance to Anakin's turn is not readily apparent in the films, it's more implied, but when you think about it, it's like it adds so much of a layer of importance to his character. But anyway, going off on a tangent. But just seeing, someone maybe who's like, they follow these rules and all this stuff, and it was so ingrained in them from that perspective, and seeing that all fall apart, having them go, well, what's the point? And then, going back to their old master, that's like, no, this is what you should be focusing on. This is what the Jedi lost. This is what the Jedi weren't, the Jedi weren't focusing on this. They were too wrapped up in their what do you say, their hubris, they were too they were too wrapped up in themselves to see their own failures, and it eventually led to their downfall. Kind of like how Luke saw the Jedi in The Last Jedi when he went into researching them. He saw all their flaws and all their, all the things they did that caused them to fail, but he was losing sight of the point of the Jedi, of the point of what it meant, what the Force was, and he was trying to kind of bring that back to himself. And that's one thing about The Last Jedi that it's so overlooked that I feel like people don't talk about enough. Such a good point when you really think about it. And then in the end, he realizes what the whole point of it was, and it's not about the legalistic Jedi Order and this all kind of stuff. It's about the Force and going back to the basic, what it should be. And anyway, going, that whole thing, having Obi-Wan really learn that message, really learn that whole thing, and going back and realizing what it is he has to do. I think that would be probably the best way for this show to go, and I really can't wait to see what they do. I mean, whatever they do, even if it is like Obi-Wan goes out and fights the Tusken Raiders in a thing and saves some children or whatever. Okay, great. I'm sure they're going to have stuff like that to pad out the length, but I really want it to be about, because it's a show and it's not a movie, you don't have to worry about alienating a bunch of people, in a movie theater who are sitting there for 2 hours going, all right, we're just watching a guy, go through life having an existential crisis. When's something going to happen? This is Star Wars. I feel like in a TV show you can get away with a lot more of that. And I think that's why, even though I wanted a movie, I think it's very beneficial for this to be a TV show. And my God, I really can't wait for this. This is probably the thing I'm most excited for, Star Wars-wise, beyond The Rise of Skywalker, beyond The Mandalorian, beyond anything else. This is what I'm most excited for. This is what I've been wanting to see out of Star Wars really since, of course I wanted to see Episode 7. Who didn't want to see Episode 7? But since Disney bought Lucasfilm and all that, I really wanted to see this whole story come about and what it would be like. And I really think if they do it right, it could be something special. So anyway, that's really all I have to say about that. Comment down below what you think about this news. What would you like to see out of this show? Do you think I'm crazy? Do you think I'm right on? Do you think that it's, maybe did you want it to be a movie? Did you want it to be something else? Do you think they'll retcon Rebels, which I really don't think they will. That doesn't make any sense. They've tried to keep such a consistent canon now that I don't think they would overlook something as big as that. I don't think Maul would play a role. But anyway, what time period do you think it would be in? Do you think it'll be more towards Episode 4? Do you think it's going to be right at Episode 3? I think it's probably going to be maybe a couple years out from Episode 3, maybe more so towards the Solo time period, which is about, 8-9 years after Episode 3? I can't remember exactly, but anyway, whatever you guys think, just comment down below. Again, check out the links in the description. Comment, subscribe, give a like. And yeah, guys, that's all I got to say about that. Later.